Hello, my dear listeners, and welcome back to another episode of English with Hazel. Today, I want to ask you a very simple but powerful question. Have you ever forgotten something really important? Maybe it was someone's name at a party. Maybe you left your keys in the fridge. I'm guilty of that one. Or maybe you were in an exam room, staring at the question paper, and suddenly your mind was as empty as a clean whiteboard. If that sounds familiar, don't worry. You are not broken. You are human. But here's the exciting part. By the end of this episode, you're going to walk away with not just tips, but a real system. Practical, fun, and science-backed that will help you remember anything you want. Vocabulary, stories, dates, lists, speeches, you name it. And as English learners, this episode is a double gift because the very methods I'll share with you to remember facts are the exact same methods you can use to remember English words, phrases, even full sentences. So stay with me until the very end because somewhere in the middle, I'm going to give you a fun challenge where you'll test your memory live with me. And near the end, I'll reveal one secret most people completely ignore when it comes to remembering everything. Trust me, you don't want to miss that part. All right, let's dive in. So why do we forget? Let's imagine your brain as a house with many rooms. Every time you learn something new, it's like putting an object inside one of those rooms. But here's the tricky part. Sometimes you don't label the box, or you just throw the item in quickly without paying attention. Later, when you try to find it, it's buried under piles of other things. That's forgetting. It's not that the information is gone. It's still in the house. It's just lost in the mess. And here's the hopeful truth. Our brains are not weak. They're just sometimes lazy. If we teach them the right way to store information, they can recall things almost perfectly. Think about it. You might forget a phone number you heard yesterday, but you never forget the lyrics of your favorite song or the face of your childhood friend. Why? Because those things are tied to emotions, repetition, and associations. So the big question becomes, how can we trick our brains into treating everything we want to remember as if it's a favorite song or a best friend? That's what we'll explore. I don't want to drown you in science, but let me give you a simple explanation. Memory has 3 stages. 1. Encoding. This is when information enters your brain, like writing something down. 2. Storage. This is keeping it safe, like putting the paper in a drawer. 3. Retrieval. This is finding it again when you need it. When you forget, usually the problem is at step 1. You never encoded the memory strongly enough. Or at step 3, you didn't have the right map to find it. So our goal today is to strengthen encoding and create better maps for retrieval. Technique 1. Chunking and Our short-term memory can only hold about 7 things at a time. That's why phone numbers are usually broken into chunks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. If I told you to remember the number 4927638810, you'd probably forget. But if I say 492,763,810, suddenly it feels easier. Same digits, different packaging. English learners can use chunking with vocabulary too. Instead of memorizing single words, group them into phrases. For example, Warren. On the other hand, as a matter of fact. By the way, these chunks act like ready-made building blocks, much easier than recalling random words one by one. Technique 2. Association. Our brains love connections. If I ask you to remember the word apple, your mind might immediately think of the fruit, the color red, maybe even the company Apple with its shiny logo. To remember something, connect it with something you already know. For example, let's say you want to remember the English word resilient, which means strong, able to recover quickly. You could imagine a rubber band bouncing back every time it's stretched. That picture stays with you. Next time you hear resilient, your brain pulls up that rubber band image, and the meaning comes back. The stranger or funnier the association, the better. If I tell you to remember the word obvious, imagine a giant yellow sign that screams in a cartoon voice, obvious. That silliness cements the word in your mind. Technique 3. Visualization. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a purple elephant dancing in your living room, wearing sunglasses, sipping lemonade. Got it? Now tell me, will you forget that image anytime soon? Probably not. Our brains are wired for pictures. Words are abstract, but images stick. So whenever you learn something new, an English word, a phone number, even someone's name, try to turn it into a picture in your head. For example, if you meet someone named Rose, imagine a giant rose flower on her head. Next time you see her, your brain whispers, Rose. All right, it's time for a little fun. Let's test your memory live. I'm going to give you 10 random words. Don't write them down. Just listen. And I'll guide you with visualization. Ready? Here are the words. Dog, moon, guitar, pizza, train, mirror, banana, river, shoes, book. Now, instead of trying to memorize them as a boring list, let's make a story. Picture this. A dog is howling at the moon. Suddenly, the dog picks up a guitar and starts playing. You're shocked, so you order a pizza to calm yourself. The delivery guy arrives on a train instead of a bike. You look into a mirror and realize you're actually holding a banana like a microphone. Then you jump into a river wearing heavy shoes, and when you come out, you're carrying a book that's dripping wet. Now pause. Try to recall the words. Can you? Dog, moon, guitar, pizza, train, mirror, banana, river, shoes, book. See, you just remembered 10 random words effortlessly. That's the magic of visualization and storytelling. Technique 4. Storytelling. Sir. Speaking of stories, this is another superpower. Our ancestors didn't sit in classrooms with textbooks. They passed information through stories, myths, and legends. And those stories survive for thousands of years. When you learn English vocabulary, don't just repeat the word, create a tiny story around it. For example, the word generous. Instead of only memorizing generous giving, make a story. My generous uncle always gives me extra ice cream when I visit. Now you'll never forget. Technique 5. Repetition. Now let's talk about the powerful truth. Repetition. But I want to emphasize spaced repetition, not cramming. If you see a word today and then review it tomorrow, then 3 days later, then a week later, your brain strengthens the memory each time. Think of it like watering a plant. If you flood it once and never again, it dies. But if you water it regularly, it grows strong. There are even apps that help you do this automatically, like Anki or Quizlet. Technique 6. Teaching others. Here's my favorite trick. If you really want to remember something, teach it to someone else. Let's say you learned 5 new English words today. Don't just close your notebook. Call a friend, or even record a voice note for yourself and explain the words out loud. When you teach, your brain organizes the information in a stronger way because it knows it has to deliver it clearly. Now you might ask, Hazel, these tricks sound fun, but how do I use them every day? Let's break it down. Remembering names. When you meet someone, repeat their name immediately. Nice to meet you, Sarah. Then connect it with an image, maybe a crown if you think of Sarah the Queen. Learning English vocabulary. Don't just write lists. Use chunking, associations, and silly pictures. Review with spaced repetition. Remembering speeches or presentations, turn each point into a vivid image. Walk through them in your head like a little movie. Okay, now comes one of the most famous and powerful techniques in history, the memory palace. This is where you use a familiar place, like your home, as a storage system for information. Let's try it. Imagine your house. At the front door, place a giant cat. In the living room, imagine a mountain of books. In the kitchen, imagine your fridge filled with gold coins. In your bedroom, imagine a rocket ready to launch. Now, if these 4 items represent 4 things you want to remember, you can just walk through your house in your mind, and boom, the memories come back. This method was used by ancient Greek and Roman speakers to memorize long speeches without notes, and it still works today. Now, let's be real. No matter how many tricks we use, sometimes we forget. And that's okay. The worst thing you can do is panic or blame yourself. Stress makes memory even weaker. Instead, see forgetting as a signal. It's your brain telling you, hey, I didn't store this strongly enough. Let's try again with better encoding. So next time you forget a word in English, don't beat yourself up. Laugh, make a silly association, and move on. All right, as promised, here's the secret most people ignore. Emotion. You remember your first crush, your first heartbreak, your happiest birthday, not because you repeated them, but because they carried strong feelings. So, if you want to remember something forever, tie it to an emotion. Make it funny, dramatic, exciting, even embarrassing. The stronger the feeling, the deeper the memory. For English learners, this means don't just study words in isolation. Use them in conversations that matter to you. Connect them to your dreams, your hobbies, your passions. If you love football, learn English through football stories. If you love cooking, learn words through recipes. That emotional link is your glue. So, my dear listeners, let's wrap this up. We started by asking, why do we forget? And we discovered that forgetting isn't weakness, it's just messy storage. Then we learned techniques, chunking, association, visualization, storytelling, spaced repetition, teaching others, and the powerful memory palace. We even tested your memory live with 10 random words, and you nailed it. And finally, we uncovered the secret weapon, emotion. Now, here's my challenge for you. Pick just one of these techniques today. Use it with 5 new English words or with the name of a new friend. You'll be amazed how quickly your brain adapts. And if you enjoyed this episode, you'll love my other episode on how to think in English. It's the perfect next step because remembering is not enough. You also need to think quickly and naturally. So click on that episode right after this one. Remember, your brain is not a basket with holes. It's a powerful treasure chest. And with the right key, you can open it anytime. I'm Hazel, and this was English with Hazel. Until next time, keep learning, keep remembering, and most importantly, keep enjoying the journey. Bye for now.